So the main topic for this week, though, sprung up again from the Patreon community because some folks just had rough weeks this week as far as gigs go. And we kind of realized that a gig can go wrong a lot of different ways. So we wanted to just kind of talk through how you navigate those kinds of things. And when we're talking about bad gigs, I'm not talking about like a bad performance, like you were sick or you weren't warmed up properly or that kind of stuff. It's more of the experience of you as the person performing, not so much the performance itself.
Yeah, in fact, it's fair to say that a lot of the things we would call bad performances in this conversation, maybe the audience never noticed.
Yeah, if you're doing it right, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
But these are the things that really can kind of get under our skin. It's part of the reason why we have the Slack community in the first place, is that it's just a place where you can vent to other musicians who, one, aren't going to like slag the other people involved or, mess with your reputation around town.
Right. It's kind of a safe space.
Yeah. Circle of trust.
There you go.
So when going through this and trying to think of all the ways that a gig can go bad, we came up with some categories. And I feel like it's probably a good idea to just kind of like talk through each of them and then the best way to approach them. But I feel like at some point the solution is going to be pretty universal in certain circumstances.
All right.
I would think.
We'll see.
So first thing, challenging setup. That typically involves things that are outside of your control.
Yeah.
What's the stage look like? Is there a stage? Are you on the floor? Is the provided production up to snuff?
Yeah.
When we were talking through this, I reached out to Nathan, our drummer, and I was like, what was the worst gig that you can remember us doing? And he was like, without question, it was this one gig where we were playing a benefit at this really fancy event spot in Buckhead. And they hired out production, and the production company was trash. And the system didn't work, and it was just like one headache after the other. And nothing that we could do about it. It was totally out of our hands.
Yep.
But we were kind of dealt this rough hand.
Yep.
Have you ever been in a situation similar to that?
I have played. Yeah, I played a party one time that was Memorial Day party, and it was a many-year thing. It was a tradition in this group of friends, and they brought RVs, and it was like it was a big thing. And we were brand new at the time. It's my current project, brand new at the time. So we had no rep, no cred. We went first. Mm-hmm. We were the party. None, the other two acts that played were not at our level, but we were playing through the system of the third band who were a little more established and had, a trailer full of gear. And the sound check sound was being run by an amateur. Let's just put it like that. And so sound check took 3 times longer than it should have and was not clean at the end of it, and wasn't great. I've certainly played my share of backyard parties where the band power was a power strip hanging out of the bathroom window or something. Very cobbled together operations, but you make them work. You put your head down and you power through. You find a way.
Yeah, the one that I was referring is kind of interesting because as a result of that gig going so bad, our front of house guy Ben kind of had to like take over and ended up getting a job with that production company.
All
and
right.
like
fixed them.
Yeah. I mean, didn't fix them, but definitely tightened their ship up a considerable amount.
Yeah.
It was kind of a launching pad for his current trajectory. So
that's really good.
There's always opportunities,
For sure.
Even things are bad.
Sometimes there's a place we play where the place they want the band to set up out on their patio when the weather is nice, the ground's not flat. You're facing up a slope very slightly. Okay. And so you're leaning forward the whole show because the ground is falling away behind you. Not steeply, but enough that you certainly know that it's happening.
Notice it, yeah.
And man, that is just a whole other wrinkle on the physical challenge of playing music. When we first set that up, I was like, this is weird. I don't know. It feels weird. By the end of the night, I was not in good shape because I've been like doing a Michael Jackson forward lean the whole night.
That's a fun visual.
Yeah.
Of you doing the Smooth Criminal dance.
That's right. Yeah, we play Smooth Criminal, and I laughed while we were doing it because I felt like I needed my shoes bolted to the floor is what it came down to.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, kind of along that line, talking about gear problems. I mean, I think we've all been in situations where something has gone catastrophically wrong with something. It's a broken string or bad cable or what have you. we had that situation last year where we showed up it was like a charity auction, and one of our mains just wouldn't power on,
Right.
and I had to like run and get that rental. But that was a situation where we had the time and the ability to get it fixed or whatever. But man, I feel like gear problems are probably the ones like everybody's got one of those stories.
For sure. Yeah. There's the story of my wireless mixer not connecting to the Wi-Fi. I couldn't get to my mixer. The sound was coming through fine, but if anybody started feeding back, I was bummed because there was no way to fix it. It turned out that I had done a factory reset on it that I hadn't quite intended to do, and that reset it to before a firmware fix came out. And in that firmware fix is the fix for the problem I was having, which was that when you boot it with a USB stick in, this is like major amounts of as a support guy, this is like many steps to diagnose this thing. But when you boot it with a USB stick in, the Wi-Fi wouldn't start up. And so I remembered long back when I first bought the thing that having happened once, and so I pulled the stick and rebooted, and by God, it came back. And then remembered that upgrade was actually still on the USB stick that I had used, and I'd been turning it down because I thought I'd already done it. And so then I did that, and we were back in business. It hasn't been a problem again. But boy, a couple of shows where it was just like, we're out of luck. And people come up and say, "Hey, I can't hear Taylor." Like, yeah, you're not gonna, because I can't
join the club.
Yeah, I can't do anything about that.
The best way to handle those situations though is, well, there's preparation, and then there's just being flexible in the moment. So we go through these things. We talk a lot about redundancy. Like, if you can have a backup for something, bring it.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a situation like that, it would be very difficult for you to bring 2 front of house setups.
Yeah.
But you should always, if possible, have some sort of alternative solution. In my world, there's always at the base of my pedal board, I've got a 1/4-inch cable.
Yep.
Because my wireless has failed enough to know that in a pinch, that's the thing that needs to be there. So think through those things, think about what could go wrong, and make sure that you've got backups for those. And then if all else fails, like, just, grit your teeth and get through it.
That's right. Or listen, I've also been having some success with automating away common points of failure. So on my pedal board, I now have a AA battery charger. It charges 12 AA's. And so first thing I do, I get to a gig, I set my pedal board up, just plug it in. It doesn't have to be in its final resting place. Start charging those batteries. They degrade as they sit, so I plug it in and it thinks they're all empty, but within 20 minutes, half an hour, most of them are charged, and then I can swap them out into packs that need them, mostly IEM body packs. So I've always got current batteries, and battery failure is never going to surprise me again, like it has in the past. Yeah.
So this next one is something that you can't always account for, and that is challenging people.
Yeah.
And challenging people can come from all sorts of places.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're the people in the crowd, and they're drunk and belligerent. On that gig that I was talking about where the PA was acting up, there was a guy that was trying to like grab Amber in a not cool way. And I don't even want to get into that, honestly, because like the way that women are treated in
horrifying
the music world is, it's not great.
Yeah.
And it sucks. We shouldn't have to deal with it. They shouldn't have to deal with it. But that could be its own episode. So you've got the people that are coming from the audience that are Matt B from our buddy down in Australia was talking about a lady that was dancing and was on stage while he was trying to perform and couldn't get security to get her off the stage. And I think went so far as to like find him on socials and like DMing him like rude things. And yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you deal with unruly clientele, audience folks?
Look, when they're up on my stage, I have a thing I say. It's a lie, but I say it and it works, which is, sorry, can't have you here. Insurance guy won't allow it.
It's a good one.
People get that. It's not true, but they get it. I have a thing where, we're a bar band in our current model. We play on the floor, most of the places we play. And so people will be wanting to dance, and they get up and dance, and their level of inebriation makes that a challenge to them sometimes. And often, like, they're coming at you. Your personal space is about to get collapsed on. I've heard stories of people stepping on players' pedal boards and all kinds of nonsense, and you just have to try and defend yourself without making a scene. I had somebody lean against my tower speaker, like it was a pole, like put her weight against it, like cute, like leaning, and it tried to go over, and I caught it and put it back up. She was appropriately mortified. I was happy.
That's good.
Yeah. At least she had that sense.
Self-awareness. Yeah.
There's also challenging people at the side of like the booker, venue manager.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That's a whole thing.
Yeah. And there was another great story. I think that was from Artie, where they were dealing with, they were playing at a restaurant, and we're talking about Artie Aldonado, he's in the Max.
Yeah.
He's got a couple of groups, but primarily he's got a 90s group called the Max. And they've been playing at this restaurant, and it was interesting because as he was kind of going through all the descriptions of the things that went wrong, it became very apparent that the real problem was the manager who had a crush on their lead singer. And that's really what it's the reason why they're being booked, but it's also the reason why they're having a hard time.
Yeah.
So that's a whole situation. And Andrew on the live stream was talking about, well, what about not getting paid after the gig? That's kind of wrapped up with this as well.
Yeah.
I've definitely been in situations where management is just like, as the musicians, you're like the lowest person on the totem pole because you're not making the money. Theoretically, you're costing the money, at least in those moments. And so getting somebody's attention to cut you a check or do the things that you were promised is always a challenge. And you end up kind of sitting around waiting for, somebody to do what they're supposed to do, or you have to chase people down. And that's a whole ball of wax. Like in our world, 90% of what we do is private events. So that's all of that stuff's in writing. As far as like, you need to make sure that your people don't get up on stage with us.
Yeah.
Like it's in the contract. So some of that can be addressed with better communication, but a lot of times it's just patience. And I will tell you this, the time to vent your frustration about that situation or the way that you're being treated by people in that world is not to be handled in the moment.
No, you deal with it later.
100%.
Yeah.
You never want to do that while you're hot, because it's not going to go well.
No.
Even if they are 100% in the wrong.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea.
Yeah. Now, in terms of chasing pay, there's a bar here that I have played at a lot. I did some really creative and fun stuff there pretty intensely summer ago, last year. And then I had to chase him for pay on the last time I was there. Chased him and was texting him and hitting him on Facebook, and it was like 3 months. And I finally just wrote it off and gave it up, and I haven't talked to the guy since. And he's a sweetheart. Love the guy. Can't do business with him. Not going to do business with him again. And when I think back, like many times we'd finish a gig and he'd be like, look, Dan, gosh, can you come by Tuesday for a check? Or, I'm a brand new business. I'm out of checks. I need to go to my bank and they're not open till Monday. And I'm really sorry. Like it just kept being those things. And then frankly, as I heard his name come up in the presence of other musicians, like, you're working with him? How's it going? Oh God, that guy, like his reputation is now dirt and in the liquor distribution world in town too. Like he's been playing that same game, that same like float me some, my delivery now and I'll pay you sometime. And you can only do that so long. But he's had quite a career in town. He seems to be doing okay, but I do notice that his bookings are the same 3 people. So maybe he's learned his lesson and he's hanging on to a core of folks who won't abandon him.
Or he's got some folks that he knows he can kind of push around.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
For all of us that are willing to stand up for ourselves and not, settle for things, there's 20 people behind us that will 100% take the abuse.
It's totally true. I even reached out to his son, his current place he and his son co-own. And I reached out to his son. I was like, look, your dad's not, can you get him to do something? And like, he ghosted me too. So, all right. That, when somebody, who is it said, when someone shows you who they are, listen. Like, yeah, I'm not going to work with them anymore. Love the guy. I'd love to hang out with him, but I'm not going to work with him.
For sure. So you had put these last 2 on here. So I want you to kind of walk us through what you're feeling about these.
There have been a couple of times in my career, not that many, but a couple, where you show up for the gig and for whatever reason, there's something else big happening in town, or got booked at a big college bar the week after graduation, or for whatever reason, the audience just doesn't show up. A couple of diehards maybe, but The turnout just isn't what you want. And so when that has happened to me, the pull, the sort of instinctive feeling response is to get down on that and have it be like, just get through this, maybe go ask the bar if they even really want it. Don't do that. My advice is don't do that. Don't do that. And don't treat it like a paid rehearsal either. Gig like you're gigging. Have it be a practice of what your gig looks like, even if nobody's watching, because you don't get stage time often. And yeah, the pressure's off a little bit because there's nobody watching or few people. But don't cheap out on the experience of being on a stage and the experience of learning what a stage feels like and the experience of how your band gels when it's on a stage. It's different from rehearsal, even if there's nobody there. That's my advice about that. And I've also had nights where we start at 9:30 and there's no one there, and by 11:30 it is packed and cranking. So don't write off a night just because it starts in a weird way. Every frat party I've ever played, I have started the night playing to an absolutely empty room.
Yeah.
And by the end of the night is, full bonkers.
Swinging from the rafters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like the no crowd situation, you can take some liberties. You can play like it's a cool opportunity to maybe play stuff that you would rather play. But it is important to also show your professionalism to the people that are there, because you never know where running into somebody will benefit you later on.
Yeah.
It could be a situation where the bartender is the only person there, but he or she was there and watched you kick ass all night by yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe they move to another restaurant or venue down the road and they're like, hey, I know this guy. He was crushing it.
Yeah.
And, we should give him a shot.
Look, bartenders become managers.
Mm-hmm.
Happens all the time.
Reputation is everything.
Yep.
So you never want to sandbag an opportunity, even if it seems like the stakes are low.
Yeah. I mean, actually, like you said, it means you can take more risks. You can try stuff. You can try that kick in Hungry Like a Wolf. I don't know.
Yeah. And then you were talking about wrong crowd. Now that's kind of I don't know how, if I feel like any crowd can be a wrong crowd. I think it's your ability to persuade them that where the onus is. It's really kind of on you.
I have a specific story.
Okay.
And I've told this story before. This is maybe my biggest ever gig from heck. We were booked to play an Elks Lodge in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh,
and the booker told us, oh yeah, we have dance bands in all the time. What she didn't say is there's this phenomenon in North Carolina, and I think some in Georgia too, called shag, which is a beach dance thing. It's a very specific beach music, swing dance related thing.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have that, but we've got like, there's an American Legion like down the road that does dance nights, I think, on the weekends. And it is very much a specific kind of thing. There is like, they have big bands in there and they've got...
Sure. Yeah, no, American Legions will do like a swing dance or something.
Yeah.
So imagine a general purpose pop rock dance band showing up to play people who've come to swing dance, right? That was essentially what we were. And we were broadly reviled. We did about a 12-minute version of Let's Get It On, which did bring some couples out, but boy, apart from that, it was miserable. And then at the break, they did their traditional raffle, and the prize winners got their prizes, and the place cleared entirely out, all 100%. At which point, the booker said, look, I was taking a swing here. I was trying something new. I was like, well, thanks for doing that on us.
And
right?
Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah. So we, I turned to the band and said, look, let's go out with our heads held high. We always end the show with Purple Rain, so let's just nail the hell out of Purple Rain and then get out of here. And that was what we did. There was no salvaging it. There was no way to salvage that. The youngest person in the crowd was 70. We were the wrong band for that show. We were the wrong band, and it had nothing to do with us. I don't know how I could have possibly. I mean, now I know. I'll probably ask when somebody says we have dances in here all the time.
What kind of dance are we talking about?
Yeah. Like, here's our set list. Does it align with anything you've ever heard there?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, she saw our set list. I showed it to her. She didn't respond. She had no feedback on our set list. So I don't feel any shame about that happened. I don't feel like that's on me in the slightest. But, just like in all these circumstances, what do? You put your head down, you do your best, you be professional, you don't take it personal, and you cash a check.
Yeah, we had a situation like that where when I was doing the classic country thing, we were playing this place in Athens, Georgia, and it was like an old school, like Western bar. Like it had, I don't even know how to like describe it. It was like a backlit forest tableau against a wall. Like the stuff you would see in like a truck stop or whatever.
All right.
I mean, this place, it was out of Roadhouse. Like, it was that kind of establishment.
Cool.
And so we thought, oh man, we're gonna come in here with our David Allen Co. and Skinner and stuff. We're gonna mop the floor of this. It's not what that place is known for. That it was a two-step bar.
Again, very specific.
People came there to two-step with their dates.
Yep.
And it was one of the rare occasions where, like, us knowing a bunch of Conway Twitty worked out in our favor.
Right.
That stuff never went over anywhere else.
Right.
But we started doing slow hand, and all these couples came out.
Ah.
And then the second we went into beer drinkers and hellraisers, they went right back to their seats.
Yeah. Yeah.
We won them over a couple of times, but yeah, that was an interesting situation. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing until I saw it, you know?
Yeah.
So you know what? You're right. I was wrong. There is such thing as a wrong crowd, wrong band.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it should still be your challenge and your motivation to try and win them over. But yeah,
For sure.
there's only so much you could.
And you can hear in both of our stories, like we reached deep. We reached down to Rock Around the Clock. We played, I don't know, we were trying oldies. And
Brick House.
Brick House. Yeah. No, Brick House was too young for him. No. No, we reached back to Run Around Sue. I mean, we really went deep, right? And some of those got a little attention, but for the most part, we were loathed. But you got to try it. You got to think hard about, wow, we're the wrong band for this. What can we pull out of a hat?
Yeah. And that was kind of the point of that last band rehearsal we did. Is like, all right, we got to be able to like move on a moment's notice. Let's turn on a dime. Let's try this. Let's try that.
Yep.
And I made them do Brick House. Like we had never played it before. And I was like, this is how it goes. Let's go. So yeah, I think that kind of sums it up. I mean, the thing that you need to understand as a performer is that you are kind of in the customer service industry, and you've got to be a good customer and a good vendor.
Yep.
And you're serving two masters in that situation. It's the person who hired you and the people who work there, and then the people who frequent that establishment. So there's no right answer. You just got to be flexible, but you also need to be professional. Like, that's ultimately what you've got to do. You've got to stick to your guns. You've got to be the kind of musician that gets called back, and you do that by doing all of those things.
Doing the best you can with what you got, and sometimes that means putting your head down and enduring.
Yep.
And knowing this show will be over in 3 hours.
So in conclusion, be flexible, bust your butt, be nice, don't burn bridges.
Yeah.
That's it. You got anything else to add?
No, I love all those things.
Cool beans.